Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. It's so good to see everybody. Hope everybody's feeling good. We have a lot of fun stuff we're going to cover today because our goal is to get out here and make money and be successful no matter what. A lot of you know, hey, Calvin McWilliams. Good morning to you, brother. Great to see you. So the stock market's been it's been kind of tripping lately, right? It's been kind of given with some volatility, some ups and downs, and I mentioned to you all that that's going to happen. Good times don't last forever, but there's a lot of money to be made, and ultimately, now someone says there's no sound. Can you guys hear me? Okay, let me know if you can hear me. Give me a quick yes, so I can know that I'm coming through. All right. So if you don't have any sound, maybe someone could type to the person that doesn't have sound that they have to change their setting or something like that. All right, now this isn't. I'm not going to keep you guys for too long. Today is the first day of our main event for the Black AI conference, and what I'll do is I'll give you guys a link to join if you want to join us. We're going to start at noon today, and so we're doing artificial intelligence. Why is that important? Well, because AI is the future, and we're not going to be left behind. We're not showing up a day late and a dollar short. We're going to show up ahead of schedule and really be on top of our game and also make sure that we are the ones who are leading the world when it comes to what's happening next, right? And I hope you agree with me because I get tired of us always feeling like we're supposed to be getting our butts kicked. I don't like that. Being black does not mean you're supposed to struggle. Being black means you're supposed to thrive. It means you're supposed to win. It means you're supposed to be on top. It means you're supposed to be prepared. So as you know, all investing is financial preparation. That's all it is. That's really all it is. Most of investing comes down to delayed gratification, planning ahead, and really just not seeing yourself as a victim all the time. So I admit when I grew up, I heard a lot of conversations about what Black people have gone through, and I listened to it. I mean, and it's real. We have gone through a lot. But then eventually I got to the point where it almost seemed like they didn't like you if you weren't a victim. Like if you didn't fully embrace the idea that you were supposed to be behind everybody else and you were supposed to be always losing, like a consistent loser, and there was no sort of standard to sort of push you forward. It reminds me of I had a kid that I used to mentor, and I remember that he was in. I found that he was taking classes that were designed for like learning disabled kids. He'd been labeled as at an early age, like I was. They said the same thing about me when I was a kid. It was ADHD. They wanted to put me on medication and everything else. And I remember him telling me, I said, "Well, what do you do at school all day?" It seems to me that if you are behind, then you should be getting more of a push to learn more, right? Because you got more of a deficiency perhaps to overcome if you've got one at all. And you know what he said? He said that he said, we don't do anything. He said, we just sit there and they read to us all day. And that's it. And so because they had low expectations, the curse of low expectations. Anybody ever heard of that? They set low expectations, which led to low standards, which led to low results and low output. So a few years later, he inherited a bunch of money from his father. His father died young, and when his father died, he had this life insurance policy, $100,000 worth of life insurance. And so the kid got the when he found out that his father left him $100,000 in life insurance, he immediately goes and he was going to the bank once every 2 weeks and pulling out 20 or $30,000. This is the true story. He was on Instagram showing off the money. You take your money, pretend like it's a big phone, or you just throw it all over the bed and stuff like that. Go to the club, pop bottles, and all this other stuff. And he was really generous with his friends. He would buy them whatever they wanted. They go to go to the car dealership and buy a new car on the spot with cash. And the $100,000 lasted for about a year and a half. So after a year and a half, he went right back to poverty, and now he's in jail. And this is culture. This is society. You've seen this before, right? This is what you call systematic. In finance, we have different types of variables. You have what you call idiosyncratic, which is like a one-off, like that doesn't happen very often, to systematic, which is like, oh, this happens all the time. So when you look at culture, culture is very systematic. That's one of the reasons why I am systematically confronting systematically toxic culture because it's systematically destroying Black wealth, systematically destroying Black families, systematically creating Black trauma, systematically making our lives miserable. And so, if you understand systems, then you understand that you're dealing with systematic racism, which means that in order to solve this issue, you must take a systematic approach. Do you understand what I'm saying? So every single morning at 10 a.m., I systematically reach out to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, whoever will listen, and we talk about these issues. Because I said, well, we're going to systematically address this systematic issue, right? And this is really important to understand when you're talking about dealing with what's sort of holding people back and struggling for you, because the system's not made for you to win, in case you're wondering. The system is not designed for you to be successful. The system is not designed for you to come out on top. It's not. It's not. I did a video about it today. If you go to my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance, you can watch it over there. That's not the topic of the conversation today, so I'm not going to play it. But go to Dr. Boyce Finance and take a look at that video and tell me if you agree or disagree. But basically, the system's not really designed for you to win. The system's designed to feed itself off of you. The system uses you and your children as food. The system needs you to be devoted to it. Whether you're talking about the economic system, and then in other areas, things like the prison system, the political system. The Democratic Party can't survive without Black people. Prisons can't survive without Black people. The corporate America can't survive without Black employees. They also can't survive without Black consumers. So these are all systematic structures that are designed to gobble you up and chew you up and just eat you up. Okay. And so that's why, for example, you have so many people who've been working their whole lives. They've been working 40 or 50 years, and your net worth is lower than a newborn baby. How can a person that's worked for 40 or 50 years have a net worth that is lower than a 2-year-old? You got 2-year-old children, can't even walk, can't even talk, can't read, can't write, can't do nothing, but yet they have a higher net worth than their parents. That's because somebody tricked their parents into going deep into debt with the false expectation. Hope is what they sell. They sell you hope like dope on a rope, and so you find that this hope dope on a rope, it put you go deep in debt, expecting that you're going to fly out and just be right on top. And then the system's like, no, 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 we need you to stay underwater. You're just going to drown, or you're going to be barely swimming. They call that paycheck to paycheck. You do when the water's too low, too high, and you're like, right? That's how you have millions of people that are in that situation, right? System is systematic. And what's interesting, actually, and I will actually mention something I put on my Instagram. There was something I saw on my Instagram that was really that I just saw. Every time I just see stuff, I'll just put it up there, and it just makes me think. By the way, is my sound going out? Are y'all? Because I'm gonna tell you, man, I had some crazy Wi-Fi issues with the conference before, and I'm kind of mad. Can y'all hear me? You can hear me okay? Is it good? We cool? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, I'm just checking, man. I'm getting a little bit nervous. What's up, Dr. Bingham? I see you in there, brother. All right, so here's um yeah. So let me see if I can. Here we go. This was a quote. I don't even know where it came from, but it was so interesting. This is what scientists have found, and this is what you're up against. This is why everything I'm doing is completely hopeless. This, getting up in the morning, us doing our like this is a hopeless exercise in one regard. It is hopeless if you think that me talking every day and us doing this every day is going to somehow shift the thinking of the entire Black community. It's hopeless. I just don't believe it's going to happen. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just saying that it's hard to overcome certain types of brainwashing. It's very difficult. In fact, scientists say this. Here's what they say. This is the stuff that makes me lose hope. I have hope in you because you're here, right? You've already they call this self-selection bias in statistics. You've already self-selected yourself to be, like part of this group that just says, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm breaking out of this matrix. So I have hope in you because you have hope in yourself. Do you understand? I have hope in you because you've already proven that you are trying to do something a little bit different, right? So here, is what and the door's open for anybody. I'm not discounting people. I'm just saying it's a little hopeless. Let me tell you why. It says we keep believing things even when we know that they are wrong. The scientists have concluded that people will keep believing things, even if you can bring facts all day long, you can break logic. Well, two plus two is four because if you carry the one and you divide by six, you're gonna get four. Right? No, don't matter. The people be like, no, two plus two is 185, and that's it. And that's what I said. And you stupid and you ugly and you like really that's what they won't come back and say, well, I did my calculations and came up with two plus two equaling seven. Tell me where my math is wrong. They don't do that. No, it's like, and you stupid and you a coon and you're elitist and you think you better than everybody else and that's why your afro is ugly, right? Like it's just like this real like in this at that point don't get in those debates. Just walk away. That's not a debate anymore. That's playing the dozens. It's like, I don't know. Let me keep reading. Let me keep reading. We keep believing things even when we know that they are wrong. Scientists say this. Social manipulation, systematic social manipulation, maybe what you've seen in social media, what you've been socialized to believe. Social manipulation can alter your memory and extend the amygdala, which is a part of your brain, to encompass socially mediated memory distortions. So, what that basically means is that your brain is wired to keep lying to you, even when the truth is smacking you in your face. And this helped me when I see things like this. It's like, oh, I get it now. Now I see why there's still millions of Black people who have so much faith that white people are going to come save them. Maybe they have their favorite Democrat, their favorite Republican, and they really believe that this is going to work, even though there's no evidence to support this. You can't. It's not like they can logically show me. Well, the reason I believe in the white man so much is because the white man he came through for me here. He paid my rent. He helped me. He helped me get financially free. He gave me some real estate. You ain't got no evidence. All you got is the social manipulation that altered your memory and extended your amygdala to accomplish socially mediated memory distortions. That means they got your head twisted up. And this is why people like Malcolm X used to say that only a fool would let his enemy educate his children. But of course, that's just so radical. Like, oh my God, what do you mean Black people educating Black people? That's not possible. How else are these Negroes going to be civilized? So anyway, let me stop. Let me jump in. I actually wanted to talk to you about something else. It just came to mind. I was like, ah. All right. So here all right, so here's what I want to go into really quickly is this interesting financial concept that you may or may not have heard of. Basically, it relates to lifestyle inflation. Have any of you ever heard of lifestyle inflation or what they might call lifestyle creep? Has anybody ever heard of that? Lifestyle creep. Let me know. Give me a guess if you've heard of that. Okay, so lifestyle creep basically says that generally speaking, when people start making more money, they don't save more money because they just spend more money, right? And money doesn't. Everybody thinks money changes you. Money doesn't change you. Money just makes you a bigger version of what you already were. So if you were a saver when you had no money, then money's going to make you a bigger saver. If you were an investor when you had no money, money's going to make you a giant investor. If you were a big spender when you had no money, then money's going to make you a gigantic spender, right? If you were generous when you had no money, then money's going to make you super hyper generous, right? So ultimately, this lifestyle creep is one of those variables that pretty much is almost like eating food, where like if you get a lot of food, some people will just eat until the food is gone, right? And that's it, right? So you get more money, and you just if you're in the habit of spending until the money's gone, then you're going to keep on doing that. And so it's interesting. So if you're able to confront lifestyle creep, then that opens the door for you to establish a financial surplus. Which, by the way, very ironically, this month we actually, for the first time in a very long time, the federal government actually had a surplus. The deficit's massive. I think it's 1.7 trillion a year. And this month they had a surplus, I think, of like a quarter of $1 trillion. And it's the largest surplus they've ever had in any September in history. Now, where did that come from? Well, it came from a couple of areas. One, the tariffs. They're collecting a lot of money from the tariffs, but the tariffs can also be argued to be inflationary. So there's a consequence for tariffs. I don't agree with tariffs, but one benefit of tariffs is you're collecting money. It's like collecting a toll. It's like somebody saying, if you want to do business in our neighborhood, you got to pay a tax to do business in our neighborhood. Some people think it works well, some people think it doesn't, but that's one area where revenue was increased. The other area though is what you call cost cuts. And again, cutting costs is always controversial because if you look at Democrats versus Republicans, they always disagree in what costs should be cut. Right? And for Democrats, they might say, well, let's cut the military and let's spend more on the social programs. For the Republicans, they say, let's cut the social programs, but keep spending on the military. Right? So it depends on what side of the political debate you're on. But one thing that can't be denied is that a lot of jobs have been lost, with the administration, which, as you know, comes with a lot of discomfort and a lot of pain. So that kind of speaks to really the duopoly of 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 economic strength and how that feels versus what the sacrifice actually is to acquire that, right? So for example, a lot of people will say Republicans are more frugal than Democrats. I don't agree with that. Republicans spend money like crazy, and so do Democrats. They just spend money on different things. So when that big beautiful bill came through and they spent all this money, everyone complained about how much money was being spent. But what also happened is that there were aspects of the bill that really accelerated the economy, right? Especially those who are investors like you, stuff like that. So a lot of money is going to get made. At least that's the appearance. The economy will speed up, but there's a massive price to that, which is additional debt. Cutting costs and becoming more frugal restricts the economy. That slows things down, and it creates a lot of economic pain, and nobody likes pain, right? And so ultimately, this is one of the reasons why you're always going to see politicians spending money to the point where eventually I'm thinking at some point it'll be unstable. At some point, they won't be able to fund the government anymore, and then everything just kind of collapses at that point. But I think that's going to be after you and I are dead. But it's probably going to occur because I can't see where they would actually cut expenses. But generally speaking, putting the government to the side in your own personal life, your goal is to have a surplus. And this should be, one of the most fundamental concepts that is taught to your children when they are babies, your grandchildren. They all need to understand this. You never spend more than what you make. You always live within your means. That's it. You live within your means. You operate at the size of your income, and if you can't afford it, then you don't buy it. Because what will happen is that there's always an incentive for you to inflate your lifestyle by using credit cards, bank loans, whatever it is, payday loans, all that stuff, right? Even those rent-to-own companies. Rent-to-own companies are notoriously good at getting you to inflate your lifestyle by leaning on instant gratification. Like, you go to rent a center, they're going to sell you a couch, $1,000 couch that you normally can't afford, 2000, let's say $2,000 couch. But they're going to set you up in a payment plan where you're literally going to pay $5,000 for that $2,000 couch. So what they're able to do is take advantage of the fact that they have more access to capital than you do. And they also know that you desire to have that nice stuff. Like you want to have that big, pretty couch in your house. And I don't blame you. I totally get it. I totally get it. But at the very least, when you sign with those deals with the devil, you have to understand that the tail end price that you pay for that short-term gratification can be massive. And what happens with people, especially when they're not sort of conscious and disciplined and thinking things through, is they engage in something in economics they call this hyperbolic discounting. Hyperbolic discounting is where you don't even care about the future at all. You literally look at the future as if it's never going to happen, and all you're thinking about is the moment. And so your life is never about sort of making any sort of sacrifice for the future. Your life is always about maximizing the moment, maximizing the moment, maximizing the moment, maximizing the moment. Maybe drug addicts have that issue. College students, they go to college and they want to party all the time. They might have that issue. And so that lack of balance where you're maximizing the moment means you're mortgaging the future. And the more access, and so in that particular example, access to capital becomes a very dangerous thing for you. It's like a drug addict having access to drugs. Like you give a drug addict a lot of money, all they're gonna do is they're gonna smoke it up. They're gonna snort it up. That's what they do, right? And so so ultimately the question then becomes, and I thought about this when that singer D'Angelo, is that his name? D'Angelo just died. Anybody see that? Um, and of course I was kind of a little bit jealous of this man because he did that video in the night. Anybody remember that video in the 90s where he's like butt naked or something, and all the women are like, right? And my wife said something about it. I was like, don't be talking about that man. Don't be bringing that man in my house. I'm playing. I'm kidding. He's dead. You can't talk bad about dead people. But here's the interesting thing about D'Angelo that I thought was really fascinating was, when he died, I always, whenever people die, I always wonder, like, how did they die? Like, what happened here, right? And I remember hearing that he had some struggles. I could have sworn it was drugs, maybe. I don't know if that was one of the things that happened. But here's the thing, right? When I heard that, I just kept thinking, I thought about it a little bit. And I heard him say something a long time ago where they showed video of him singing in this concert, and he's on stage, and there's like thousands of screaming fans out there going crazy, mostly women, right? And he said something like, he said, "Man, I was blown away by the power of the music." And he said, "I had to really think about that." And and I said, "Yeah, I hope you did because that's a deal with the devil." Because what's happened is that the devil's saying, I can give you anything that you want. Anything you want. You can have all the women, so you can have sex 24 hours a day if you want. You can have all the money, all the power, all the fame, all the drugs that you possibly want. And so if you ever get blessed or cursed enough to have a situation where you can have anything you want, I hope that you are spiritually balanced enough to know what you should and should not sign up for. Because if you look at that, right, it didn't surprise me when they said he had a drug addiction because I said, yeah, well, if you don't have something that grounds you, like you're not, like, it could be something, it could be your faith. Like I'm a Christian, so I don't participate in that. Like, how Denzel always says, I'll leave the party before the devil gets there, right? Well, think about it. For years, Denzel was this international known sex symbol. He could walk in, snap his fingers, and women would do what he wanted. That's a lot of power. And when I think about hyperbolic discounting, or you think about instant gratification, that addiction to instant gratification that we kind of have in our society, where every single thing you do needs to feel good all the time. What happens to a person when you suddenly have access to everything you want and nothing is hard anymore? The greatest blessing that I ever had in life that made me appreciate my wife was that when I was young, I was not the hottest guy in the room. I was 5'8", not, super tall. I didn't have anything significant about me in terms of confidence or swag or none of that stuff. So if I got a girlfriend, I had to kind of work to get a girlfriend, right? I had to really be, really show up and do my best and be nice and everything. And I had friends who didn't have that problem. I had a couple cousins who would just, it was really weird. They would just walk in the room and all the girls would be bowing at their feet. And I saw what it did to these men. I saw what that level of power did. They never appreciated a beautiful woman. They never, in their mind, women were just these objects you could just use up and throw away and move on to the next one. If she don't like you, somebody else will. And I feel bad for them. At that time, I felt a little bit jealous, not jealous, but kind of not jealous in a bad way, but kind of like, wow, like in awe in a way, right? But later on, I was like, that was such a blessing that I had to work hard to get the things that I wanted because when I got it, I valued it more. I protected it more. I cherished it more, right? And um, and I even say that to this day. I always say, like, don't marry somebody that you're just happy to be with. Pick somebody that's really happy to be with you, right? Right, like pick somebody where you don't have to convince them that you're the prize. They already know you're the prize, right? And that people like that, people will treat you better if they know you're the prize. But a lot of people don't do that. They pick the person that they want the most, and it's like, well, but did she actually want you to, or did you just want her? Because that's not going to be a good situation for you, because you're going to have to pay a big tax to maintain whatever that is that you earned, whatever you chase down, or whatever. So I think the same thing is true when you're talking about this money thing. Let's circle back to make sure we stick on the financial part, because what I'm really talking about is instant gratification, hyperbolic discounting, and how a person who is addicted to instant gratification, um, who engages in hyperbolic discounting, is a person where the worst thing you could do to that person is give them a bunch of power, money, fame, and access to capital, right? See, access to capital is a beautiful thing, right? If I was to sit on a reparations committee and say, well, and they say, what do black people need? I would say, well, black people need access to capital. But what I would also say is I would say black people also need access to therapy, so that when we get access to capital, we don't waste every opportunity that we have, right? Like if we get that reparations payment, it doesn't become a stimulus plan for Nike and and the and the car dealership and all the businesses that will dangle these products, these consumer products in front of you and say, hey, just give me, you got that reparations check? Come over here. Now you get to drive that Escalade you've always wanted. Now you get to wear that $1,000 outfit that you can never afford. Now you can come to this, $400 restaurant that you never would have gone to otherwise, right? So ultimately, money really isn't power if you waste it. It's the conscious, intelligent use of money that makes it powerful. Just like a car. A car will not take you anywhere if you don't know how to drive it. And it can kill you if you're a bad driver. So what you don't want is you don't just want a car, you want a driver's license, and you also want to make sure that you are conscious and aware. You don't want a drunk driver with no license because that person's going to kill everybody. You want a person that understands the power of that car and also understands how to be conscious and intelligent with the use of that car. Do you understand? And again, if by the way, I know some people love D'Angelo and stuff like that, and I hope I didn't offend anybody. I know he got some big fans out here, and it wasn't meant to be offensive. It was really meant to speak partly on something. On a side note, this is something I've always been concerned about: is what happens to some of the black men when they become famous celebrities, like the DMXs and stuff like that. Is that or R. Kelly? Like I think the worst thing R. Kelly could have ever gotten was money, power, and women, because this man had some significant mental health issues that should have been addressed. But it's like if somebody's got diabetes and all you do is give them more candy, you're going to kill that person, right? What they need is to fast. They need to eat healthy. But unfortunately, when you get that, when white folks put you on that pedestal, that's what happens. We worship black celebrities because white people put them on TV, and some of them, unfortunately, are very unhealthy, unhappy, dysfunctional human beings. They're just terrible role models. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. And they get up there, and next thing you know, they're destroying themselves, and they're destroying themselves in public. Like most of us, we knew Diddy had a problem 25 years ago. Like there's, Diddy, I don't think anybody in the black community would have made Diddy the most famous black man in America, whatever he was, or put him next to the president of the United States and having them telling black people who to vote for and stuff like that. That was what they did. That was white folks. Those are people at APAC, right? That run the music industry. That was it. They did that, right? So really, just when you talk about the spiritual destruction of our people, that's deeply connected to what's happened to us economically. See, the thing about the economics is that the economics is a driver of a lot of things, but it's really also a symptom of a lot of other deeper issues, right? It's not, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? The economics can drive so much in society, but the economics itself is being driven by something deeper as well, right? So if you want to address the economics, if you address the man, then you can address his finances after you address the man. If I address the woman and what's happening internally, what's happening with her culturally, what's happening in her family, what's happening in her household, then what will happen is that prosperity will be a natural byproduct of an upgraded lifestyle in a multitude of other areas. Do you understand what I mean? Tell me if you get what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying, right? Like if I take a black man and I teach him how to be intelligent and thoughtful and strategic, I teach that black woman how to be disciplined and hardworking in her life. I teach that black man how to build a good, solid family. I teach that black woman the value of education. I teach that black man how to take care of his mind and body and spirit. I teach that black woman how to work well with others and how to be a good human being. Then what's going to happen is it's very difficult for a person who does all those things to then be financially desperate. It's very difficult because what will happen is that when they get that opportunity to build wealth. Remember, poor stands for what? Poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly, right? Write the word poor in the chat. Poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. Income is not wealth. Income is not wealth. Income is not wealth. Income is the opportunity to build wealth. So people stay poor because when income comes along and income says, here's your opportunity to build wealth, the opportunity right here, we pass over opportunities repeatedly. We get the income, we throw it away. Get the income, spend it at the mall. Get the income, blow it on the trip. Get the income, blow it on the car. Get the income, spend till we drop. And so each time you're passing over opportunities repeatedly because somebody didn't teach you basic core values like not living beyond your means. Living below your means means you instead of spending up to here, you keep a surplus. And with that surplus, you're investing, which means that you're building wealth. When you're investing, you're building wealth, which means every time you get an opportunity to build wealth, you're taking advantage of opportunities repeatedly. So eventually you're winning. Eventually you're wealthy. Eventually you have a surplus. All of this is not a product of how much money you make necessarily. It's not a product of being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It's a product of how you choose to conduct yourself as a human being. It's a product of how deeply I'm going to think about the choices I make. It's a product of whether or not I choose to embrace delayed gratification, which is the defining characteristic of any investor, over instant gratification, which is the defining characteristic of perhaps a person that has some unmet emotional needs, maybe some undiagnosed, untreated trauma, where they're self-medicating either through drugs, D'Angelo, or through sex, or through excessive spending, or through alcohol, or through chasing women, or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that's going to generate that dopamine to make the pain go away, because we never actually address the underlying issue, then those things tend to be very expensive. And so what the mall tends to do is they really are drug dealers. They really deal in dopamine. That's what they deal with. They deal with saying, okay, how do we give you some self-esteem because you ain't got none, and make you feel like you're going to be a better person if you buy this $2,000 Hermes bag. Who the hell pays $2,000, $3,000 for a bag? I'm not making fun of anybody, but Lord Jesus, some of those bags are like $80,000. What's happening in your mind that's making you think that carrying this $80,000 bag makes you somehow a more relevant and better human being? Maybe you like the bag. Maybe you really like that, that like salted alligator skin or whatever the hell it is, right? Well, in China, they got whole Instagram pages now of Chinese people saying, I can make you this $80,000 Hermes bag for $5,000. At least get the $5,000 version, or you can go to New York on any street corner and find one that looks just like a Hermes bag. Probably cost you $200, $50, or 90, I don't know, something like that. But either way, it's up to you. But the thing about it is that that's all psychological. There's a whole psychology around how they sell these high price, overpriced luxury goods. And the fact that that's $1 trillion industry tells you that it works, that it really works. Because why? Because human beings, they want to be accepted. Um, they want to be seen in a certain way. We want to keep up with the Joneses, right? So you can't really sell products like that to people that have good, strong self-esteem, that really know who they are, that don't really need these material items in order to feel better about who they are, right? You're selling that to somebody who has a void. You need to find people that have voids, and then you offer to fill the void. And the problem with that, and I'm not even making fun of you if you've done these. We've all done these. We've all done this at some. That's the thing I want to make clear. Like, we've all done that. I'm not at all ever pretending to be the priest who never makes a mistake. No, no, no. We've all done it. The problem is that it can be very expensive, and if you are overcommitted to the idea of filling these voids with those green pieces of paper in your bank account, then you're going to have a high likelihood of staying poor because you're passing over the opportunity to invest, right? Because every filling of a void, and we have lots of voids, every way you fill a void is going to have a cost. So the cost may be time, like the time I spend reading a book on how to heal, or watching YouTube videos, or talking to a therapist, right? Or it could just be me buying something that's gonna make me feel better. Like, okay, now my self-esteem is up because I'm wearing these labels on my body, and I've got this Hermes bag, and I've got this important job working for this really relevant white man who, gave me the big corner office. So now I get to feel like I am worth it, right? But imagine if you took a shortcut. Like imagine if you had a person who didn't do any of those things, who's already said, well, I already know that I'm worth it. I already know that I'm precious. I already know that I'm valued. Why? Well, because my parents raised me to understand how precious I was. So I don't really need that job in order for me to feel like I'm worthy. Like, I mean, I might take the job, but I don't need the job to feel like I'm an important person. Well, I've saved a lot of money by doing that. I've saved a lot of energy. I don't have to go through 10 years and 30,000 hours of labor and microaggressions and stress on the job and everything else in order to fulfill that part of my self-esteem. I am already good. I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay. I remember when I was in college, and I told you all about this, and again, I know a lot of you are Greek, so I'm not even making fun of anybody that's Greek at all, because so this is not a negative statement, but I remember when all the fraternities tried to recruit me. Every single one of them tried to recruit me because I told you about that. It wasn't because I was cool or anything. It was like I'm probably the least cool person you'll ever meet, but I had the highest grade point average of all the black students on campus. So they all each of them recruited me. The alphas, I remember talking to the alpha, talked to the kappa, I talked to the q, I talked to the whichever one I might have missed. The sigma, is it delta? They're not delta sigma. The sigmas, I think is what. Yeah, his name was Daryl. And I remember kind of I didn't understand what they were asking me to do. It didn't make sense. It was like, so wait a minute, so hazing sucks. It sounds like you're gonna really be mean to me and make me do these terrible things, wake me up in the middle of the night. I like my sleep. I don't want to miss sleeping. And you're gonna mess up my grade point average, and I don't have anything else going for me except my grades. I know where to go. If I get kicked out of school, my daddy ain't gonna let me move back in the house. And then they were like, oh yeah, and it's gonna cost you. And I think at that time it was like maybe like 700, $700. And I was like, wait, so I'm gonna pay you money to beat my ass, stress me out, and mistreat me. And what do I get out of the deal? Like I don't want, well, you get to be part of the group. Part of your group. I need to be part of your group. I'm perfectly happy with the group, with being with this. I'm already in a group called the Group of Boyce, and you're already my friend. Like I don't even it didn't even compute to me, right? And what I then saw though, honestly, was when I saw other friends who were desperate to do this. And this is not in any way making fun of anybody who did it. I understand why. There's benefits, right? Networking, everything. God bless them. I mean, shoot, and some of the groups have a lot of power. My cousin is Omega, and he gets together with all the Omegas. They do great stuff. My brother Lawrence is an Alpha, and the Alpha men are extraordinary. My sister's an AKA, and the AKA is don't mess with them. But it was sort of like to me, I also saw some people who did these things because they didn't feel good about who they were just by themselves. Like they almost like they had a void. So I will pay this money, I will endure this torture just so I can feel like I'm a part of something. And that part, I don't know if that's necessarily a healthy exercise because I had a really good friend who was he had a really high grade point average like I did. That's why we were friends because we were both like serious about study. We didn't have a lot of black male friends who really studied as much as we did, and so we became good friends. And he pledged Omega Psi Phi, and I mean his GPA went straight to the toilet. I mean it felt like a freaking brick. He spent 3 years trying to get it back up, right? And I was like, they always say that a wise man learns from his mistakes and a wiser man learns from the mistakes of others. And I watched that happen. I said, oh, hell no, y'all ain't messing up my grades. But again, this is my experience, right? This is not in any way an indictment of the entire fraternity at all. Lots of great Omega men out there. So much respect to you. But it reminded me of how people go about doing things even into adulthood. Social media is really interesting because social media has kind of made the world into like a big ass high school where you'll see people just doing all different kinds of things trying to fit in. They'll be doing these goofy TikTok dances or anybody. I don't know if anybody else is noticing this, but just doing stuff trying to really fit in and be relevant and be seen as cool and then they gain a fear of speaking a truth that maybe is in contrast to what everybody else is thinking. And I don't think that that's the solution to really winning or getting ahead financially. So let me read a couple of things about lifestyle creep to you that come from academic research in terms of why people even do that, why people engage in lifestyle inflation in the first place. And then maybe it'll help you to figure out your own pathway to economic strength. One more thing I want to mention really quick is at noon, in case you don't know, today is the first day of the main event of the Black AI conference. And so I'm gonna put the link in here, and I think that code 30 off, all one word, might still work. So if you want to come in, it's not too late. You can use that code 30 off and join for 30% off. So feel free to take that link and use it. I'm putting it in the comments. And it's only for those of you that are here live. And so you'll see it if you're here live or if you're in the Zoom. All right, so here we go. And by the way, it's online, so you don't actually have to leave your house. You can join from anywhere. So the link's right there. All right, so the first thing is there's something called the permanent income hypothesis from Milton Friedman, who was a great economist at the University of Chicago. And he says that people base their spending not just on their current income, but on their expected long-term income. So as your income rises, individuals start viewing the increase as permanent. So when your money starts going up, it's easy to think, okay, this is the beginning. You know, I went from making 80 to 90,000. Well, eventually I'll be making 100 and 110. And so even if your income is not going to increase, people adjust their lifestyle upward to match the increase as well as the expected increase. So the problem is that when the higher income doesn't last, your new lifestyle that does remain. A lot of athletes get caught in this. They start making insane amounts of money in their 20s, and they in their mind subconsciously believe they're going to be making that kind of money forever. And we all know that no, you're not. You're going to retire at 28 years old and spend the rest of your life reflecting on choices you made in your 20s. And so ultimately, but by that time, you know, you got car payments, house payments, baby mamas, people whose rent you agreed to pay. And all these sort of consistent financial relationships put a lot of pressure on you. And that's why you'll see there was one guy that played in the NBA, and I know he got arrested, or he actually got killed in a drug deal because being a drug dealer was the only way he could match the money that he was making as an NBA player. And he was a really good player too, made a lot of money. Another one, if you saw, there were some of those guys that got caught in some sort of insurance fraud situation and ended up going to prison. And so, not making fun of it at all, but I am saying that I suspect that lifestyle creep played a part in that, where your expenses got really high and your wealth, your income started to drop, but that financial pressure still remains, which is why conservative investing, conservative financial decisions tend to lead to the greatest amount of wealth preservation. And the reason that you tend to see athletes and entertainers struggle is because entertainment and athletics within the Black community is not conservative behavior is not typically rewarded. You're more rewarded for outlandish behavior, extravagant behavior, pushing things to the limit. And unfortunately, that becomes very, very risky. Risk is bad when it comes to finances. That's why bankers tend to be very conservative people. That's the truth. All right, so moving on. There's something called the relative income hypothesis from James Dusenberry, and he says that people measure their well-being not in isolation. They always compare to other people. So when they see other people's lifestyle improve, it gives them pressure to kind of keep up. So you engage in more of what they call higher consumption as a way to signal socially that you're doing well. Like you, okay, I saw what you were driving. Now I'm driving something nice too, so you can see me driving it, and you'll know that I'm doing well too. And when people say, "Well, how's he doing?" Well, I saw him driving that Porsche the other day, so he looks like he's doing good. Or I heard he got that good job at the such and such. He must be doing. He was wearing the such and such, right? So a lot of times all that it becomes a trap, the signaling trap, which is driven by this on perhaps natural but yet very costly desire to keep up with other people. You don't want to fall in that trap. I ain't trying to keep up with shit. I ain't trying to keep up with nobody. I don't care. I don't want I don't I'm not try I'm not I don't drive my car hoping you'll see me in it. I'm not going to invite you to my house just so you can see it. If I invite you to my house, it's because I like you and I want to see you, but it's not so I can say, look at my bedroom, look at my square footage. I ain't doing none of that. None of that. That is pressure I do not want. I do not need it. I told you I had this young guy, this young financial influencer who challenged me. He said, Dr. Boyce, you'll never show no screenshots of how much money you got in your bank account. Dude, no flexing. This is the no flex zone. I am not out here trying to flex to prove nothing. But then again, I said, I get it. You're 28, I'm 54. Maybe when I was 28, I would have listened to that. I would have taken you up on your challenge. But I'm 54. I got kids older than you. Trying to flex it. Bro, you got this. He put a big screenshot. He had a lot of money in there. I said, good for you. Congratulations, but you ain't never gonna look in my bank account, buddy. So just all of that pressure, that's a site that's called the relative income hypothesis. And I encourage you to avoid it because if you submit to it, it is going to cost you so much. It's exhausting trying to keep up with people. It's freaking exhausting, man. I just get tired even of mad. I ain't trying to keep up with nobody. I just want to, if you want a standard to keep up with yourself. Are you trying to do better than you were doing yesterday? If the answer is yes, then give yourself a freaking trophy. Clap for yourself. Only you are connected to your path, right? Only you know what you overcame to get here. Only you know what you're dealing with, what you're fighting through, right? You don't know what advantages those other people have. All you know, that new car could have been that new car could have put them in so much debt that they're financially screwed, right? And so don't, if you can, try your best not to compare to other people. If social media makes you do it, then turn it off. Turn it off. Social media is proven to cause mental health issues for people. If it's causing you stress, turn that freaking thing off or unfollow people that are stressing you out. Next, there's something else in behavioral economics called hedonic adaptation. Hedonic adaptation. So it says here, after an income increase or luxury purchase, satisfaction goes up. So people get happy when they buy nice stuff. Surprise, surprise. And then it quickly fades as people adapt to the new normal. So you get that hit, you put that injection in your arm, and because you bought that new bag or that new outfit, and then after a while, like every other crackhead, eventually it levels off, and you still need the injections to feel normal, but that high you thought was going to last forever doesn't last forever. I think that's why people end up in so many bad relationships. You ever see people like when they're young and they never been in love with nobody and they meet somebody and they swear this is the person that they want to be with forever. So they move real fast and get married like 3 weeks into the relationship or something. And, like, but because they just don't know, they don't know that eventually all of that newness wears off. Right. And so this same thing happens when you talk about an income increase. When I got my first job at Syracuse and I was making six figures for the first time in my life, I remember just thinking, like, when I get that much money, I'm going to be happy forever. I really felt that way. I really thought that making a lot of money was going to just make me happy all the time forever. I got that first paycheck. I wanted to do cartwheels in the freaking hallway. And I noticed after about a year or so, it became normal. Now Andrea says, I love my Cutco knives. I used to sell Cutco knives back in high school. Did you know that? I got my mama a set of Cutco knives. I bought her a Cutco knife in 1989, and that knife was the sharpest knife in our drawer for like on the day she died 35 years later. Like, that's how crazy those Cutco knives are. So I think when I got a little older and I had the money to afford it, I ordered her a whole set. And so the whole set is still in our kitchen. It's the best knives ever. They were expensive as hell though. But anyway, let me keep going. All right. So after an incoming, okay, so what once felt like an upgrade soon becomes a baseline, and it pushes people to seek another hit of pleasure through more spending. So you have to go to new highs in order to maintain that effect, and so it creates what they call a treadmill effect. So income rises, your satisfaction goes flat, but your expenses keep on going up. And what that does is that adds to your economic pressure. So, what I would encourage you to do, based on the conversation today, is to really think carefully about lifestyle creep and just how that can affect you in different ways. And go back to those basic ideas, living below your means. That's one of the most essential rules of developing a financial surplus, which will open up the opportunity to invest more. And but then also, when you learn how, this is what another reason why kids should be taught how to make money when they're young, because if you're not satisfied with the amount of money you make and you don't want to cut your budget, then just go find a way to make some more money. There is money out here, right? But if you have a limited number of tools by which you can go earn money, then it's going to be much harder for you than somebody who has been shown a lot of different pathways to get the job done. Okay. So this is the type of education that I think that our people need. And it's up to us to do that too for the kids and the grandkids. Nobody else is going to do this for us. All right. So I'm going to finish up for today. Thank you guys for listening. And I want to mention that we do have a Black Wealth Mastery store, and there's some things in there that might help you. For example, there's a Black Wealth Builder Blueprint. If you go to drboycebooks.com and just search for Blueprint, you can find the Black Wealth Builder Blueprint. And also, there's a Financial Mindset Journal, which is a printable journal that's in there. Dr. Alicia also has some Black financial therapy materials as well. So it's drboycebooks.com if you want to go in there and take a look. drboycebooks.com. And also, here's a link one more time to the Black AI Conference. This is happening today and tomorrow. We've lined up all of our AI experts. You can come in and network with others that are getting into AI. AI is a lot of fun. We're investing in AI. We're using AI. We're learning AI. You know, AI is the future, and I don't want us to miss out on that. So feel free to click on that link and use that code 30 off. I think it should work today. I don't know if anybody's gone to try to buy a ticket today. I think that I don't know. I assume that the tickets are still available. If they're not available, then we can get you the recording if you'd like to get the recording. But I think the ticket should be still available up until it starts at noon. So God bless you guys. Have a great day.